If you're Googling cost of living in Kenosha, Wisconsin right now, you're probably doing it for one of two reasons. Either you're thinking about moving here, most likely from Illinois, and you want to know if the numbers actually work for you or not, or you already live here and you're wondering if you made the right call. I'm going to give you the real numbers, not a blogger's summary, not an estimate from some website that hasn't been updated in 3 years. The actual breakdown: housing, property taxes, utilities, groceries, income tax, what a family moving here in 2026 is actually looking at. I'm Chad Scott. My wife and I are realtors with eXp Realty here in Kenosha. We've been working in this market for years, and the single biggest question that we get from people just like you thinking about relocating, especially from the Chicago area, is, does it actually pencil out? Well, today I'm going to answer that. If you want the full picture in one place, I put together a free Kenosha relocation guide. The link is down below in the description of this video. But stay with me, because what I'm about to walk you through is more detailed than anything else that you're going to find in that guide. So before we get into the numbers, I want to set the context, because cost of living doesn't mean much without that first reference point. For most people watching this, that reference point is Illinois, specifically the Chicago suburbs. Here's the headline: Illinois has one of the highest property taxes in the country. That's not me editorializing. That's from the Illinois Policy Institute itself. Wisconsin ranks 8th. For a $400,000 home, the difference is in annual property taxes between Lake County in Illinois and Kenosha County, Wisconsin, is typically in the range of $5,000 to $8,000 per year. Look, I'm not here to sell you on Kenosha. I'm just here to give you the math. And the math is either going to make sense for you and your family, or it's not. That's kind of the whole point of this video. Property taxes are the biggest single number in this comparison, but they're not the whole picture. Let's go through each single category, and I'm going to give you specific Kenosha numbers, not state averages. So first, let's start with housing, because for most families, this is 60 to 70% of your monthly budget. As of February 2026, the median home price in the Kenosha market is sitting right at $282,550. For context, in Lake County, Illinois, Waukegan, Gurnee, Libertyville, you're looking at a median price that's around $370,000. That's an $87,000 difference in the median price. But here's what the median doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you what $350,000 or $400,000 actually buys you. In most of the Chicago suburbs I'm familiar with, $350,000 is a townhome or a small single-family home on a postage stamp lot. In Kenosha, $350,000 gets you into a legitimate 3 or 4 bedroom home with a 2-car garage, a full basement, and generally a bigger lot than you'd find anywhere in Lake County. Alright, let's talk property taxes. This is the number that changes the most dramatically when you cross the Wisconsin state line. And it's a number that I get asked about more than any other. In Illinois, effective property tax rate in the collar counties like Lake, Cook, DuPage, and Kane County are running somewhere around that 2 to 3.2% of assessed value, depending on the county and the city that you live in. In Kenosha County, the effective rate for a typical residential property is closer to 1.31%, though it does vary by city, just a little bit. So let me put that into dollar terms, because percentages are a little hard to feel. So home value in Lake County, Illinois at 2% on the low end, of course, in Kenosha County, Wisconsin at 1.31%. And based on a $300,000 home, in Lake County, you're going to spend about $6,000 in property taxes. Here in Kenosha County, you're going to spend about $3,930 on property taxes. These are all approximate numbers, of course. That's a savings of about $2,070 here in Wisconsin. On a home of $400,000, you're going to spend about $8,000 in property taxes in Illinois and about $5,240 here in Wisconsin. It's a savings of about $2,760 a year here in Kenosha County. And a home of $500,000, your property taxes in Lake County, Illinois are about $10,000 a year, and here in Kenosha County they're about $6,550. That's a savings of $3,450 a year, approximately. Now, I want to be clear about something. Property taxes on the Wisconsin side aren't low. They're just dramatically lower than Illinois. If you're coming from somewhere like Tennessee or Texas, you might still find them quite surprising to you. If you're coming from Lake County, Illinois, they're going to feel like quite the gift to you. I've had clients tell me that the property tax savings alone covers their car payment every single month. That's a real quality of life change for everybody that you can see and feel in your pocketbook. Now here's one that doesn't come up quite as often, but it does matter, especially for dual income households. Illinois has a flat income tax rate of 4.95%. Wisconsin uses a graduated rate structure, and depending on your household income, the effective rate could be higher or lower than Illinois. Now, I'm not going to pretend to be your CPA, because I'm not. And the details really do depend on your specific situation. But what I will say is that for most families in that $120,000 to $200,000 household income range, the difference between Illinois and Wisconsin income tax rate is relatively modest. It may not even matter at all compared to the property tax savings. But it's part of the total picture, and you really should run your specific numbers with an accountant before you make any decisions at all. Utilities are one of those categories where Kenosha is pretty much in line with the national averages for a Midwest city. Nothing dramatic here, but let me give you the real number so you can actually build a budget. For a typical 3 to 4 bedroom home in Kenosha or Pleasant Prairie, and keep in mind that these numbers shift depending on how high or low you set your thermostat. Here's what you're generally looking at though. So about $90 to $130 per month for your We Energies bill. That's roughly $100 to $200 per month in the winter. Water and sewer, you're looking at roughly $50 to $80 per month. Internet varies by provider, but that's about $50 to $80 per month. Utilities, you're looking at roughly $290 to $490 per month total for utilities. Groceries and everyday costs are where Kenosha looks pretty favorable compared to the Chicago suburbs. You've got a Woodman's here, which is one of the best grocery values in the Midwest. You have a Pick and Save, an Aldi, Festival Foods, and you have a lot of the same stores, but you're not paying the Chicago Metro markups. Based on the cost of living index data, Kenosha is roughly 10% less expensive than Lake County, Illinois, on a comparable basis. Gas prices also tend to run lower than the Illinois side of the border, partly because Wisconsin's gas tax is lower than Illinois. Now, none of this is dramatic on its own. We're not talking about moving somewhere else, where everything is suddenly half the cost of what it is in Illinois. And yes, with inflation being what it is right now, everywhere just feels more expensive, no matter where you live. But when you stack it all together, housing savings, property tax savings, everyday cost of living savings, the cumulative effect for a family over a 5-year period is pretty significant. No one number is going to shock you, but stack them all together and you start to understand why 40,000 people a year are leaving Illinois. And a lot of them are ending up right here in the Kenosha area. Okay, I want to give you the honest version here, because the Mayor of Kenosha title really only means something if I'm willing to tell you the parts that aren't a sales pitch. Here are a few things that are not dramatically cheaper here in the Kenosha area. Childcare costs are competitive within the region. You're not going to find a dramatic savings there, or compared to the Chicago suburbs. Healthcare costs are largely driven by your employer and your insurance provider. Crossing the state line doesn't change that meaningfully. If you're used to a specific dining scene or specialty retail in Chicago, you will notice fewer options here. That's not a financial observation, but it's a real lifestyle trade-off worth acknowledging. Your commute costs change, and for some people, they go up. If you're taking the Metro into Chicago from Kenosha, a monthly pass starts at $75 for 1 to 2 zones. That's a real number that you have to factor into your budget. Now, I'm telling you this because the families that I work with are the most satisfied with the move, are the ones who went into this with accurate expectations, not just the rosy version. So let me bring this home. For a family earning about $150,000 a year, living in a $400,000 home, what does this actual move from Lake County, Illinois to Kenosha, Wisconsin look like financially? You're likely looking at a property tax savings in the range of about $2,000 to $4,000 per year, a slightly lower cost of living across the board, a housing market where your dollar buys a meaningful square footage, and an income tax picture that depends on your specific situation. The math works out for most families making this move, but it doesn't work for everyone. And if it doesn't work out for you, I'd rather tell you now than have you find out after you've already made the move. My job isn't to fill a moving truck. My job is to make sure that your family lands in the right place. If that's Kenosha, then I'm all in with you. If it's not, then I'll tell you that too. If any of this is hitting home for you, if you're actually thinking about making this move, the next best step is a conversation. No pressure, no obligation. Just reach out to me at 262-331-1621 or grab the free Kenosha relocation guide in the description below. It covers school districts, neighborhoods, and what different price points actually get you. If you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button. I put out videos like this every single week about the Kenosha market, and I'll see you in the next one.